Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about the Benchwork. The layout is 5 foot by 12 foot. The subframe is all made of 2x4s, and it's actually made in really 4 sections. This is this section here and the section over there. It's 3 foot by 5 foot, and I just made a box 3 foot by 5 foot. Same thing over there with a couple of cross braces, and everything's screwed in so I could take it out, move it around if needed, because I didn't draw this up much. It was just in my head. So I knew I wanted, so there's 3 feet here and there's 3 feet here, so that's 6 feet. So the other 6 feet are these, I think they're 13 by 6 foot boxes. There's one over there as well. And then, so I put all those together, and then I put a cross brace in the middle for now, to temporarily hold it. The idea was to make like a big O, where the ends would be where the 054 curves would be, and then the sides would be the straights. And I wanted to try to keep, you can see the circle. I wanted to try to keep that open so I could run my helix down as far as I wanted to. Right now I've only got it down, I guess 2 levels below the table. I could go down as far as I wanted to. I just wanted something to be able to run now, so that's why I stopped where I did, but we could keep going. So once I put it all together, the concrete in my basement is really crooked. It drains into this area here. So I got some of these adjustable feet from Amazon. They weren't too expensive. And then they've got a post where you can crank it up, and so I got it pretty level all the way back. I just put one where I needed it. If I had done it differently and ran a 12-foot long piece here and there, it probably wouldn't have needed as many legs as it did. But since I was building it on the fly, it did need those legs to get it more level, especially in the middle. Let's see. So the vertical 2x4s, hold the table up, and I put them all inside of here so I could have room for the trains to shoot through. And I kept this whole area open because of the curve. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to support those. So you can see the benchwork there. Now the top's a little different. It's a little bit like the bottom, but it's also kind of pieced together, mainly out of 2x4s and plywood. So what I did was I built the inner, which is really this part up here. I built that, and then I decked it with 3/4 inch plywood at first. And then, as you can see, this is the 3/4 inch plywood. So before I cut these out, before I cut this out, this was all decked plywood. So I put the seam, since it's 5 foot wide, I put the seam here. And of course it's a huge waste of plywood, but I put 3 foot and cut off a foot, and then 3 foot and cut off a foot, and then the other seam is right here. So this is 8 foot of the table. This is 4 foot of the table. And I knew I wanted to try to make my inclines as gradual as possible, but I tried it a different way, and I wanted to make it raised off the table as opposed to going all grid work and doing cookie cutter the entire way. So it was a trial and error. So what I ended up doing after I decked it was I cut this with a jigsaw all the way around, and then there's a seam here, that seam there, and then I did the same on around to you can see where that line stops. So what that did was that allowed me to lift this one up, starting back here. And yes, it did go across the seam, but I attached them, I glued them, I pocket screwed them from the bottom, and then I brought that up. So I didn't know exactly how much I wanted to lift it. I didn't know how much my trains would climb. So this piece was one piece, and I went up with it. And then this piece is the other decking, and I went down with it. So that made, you know, one go up and one go down. So that got my start of my inclines. My under the table incline was this one. My above the table incline was this one. So at that point, I just put a block in between them, and then you know, just clamped it here to hold it for a while. And then I started doing cookie cutter track and supports underneath it. So this is one piece here, and I want it a little bit wider, so I ended up joining a piece of just wood stock to it, and then I found ways to support it. As you can tell, I was higher at one point in time, and I ended up dropping it a little bit because I had a lot of incline and it was really wasteful. And some of the trains weren't liking it, especially when I was pulling 13-foot cars or whatever, or trains. And and then that's a cookie cutter piece there. And these are just supports until I build my bridge. But then back here, I knew my finished height above this level, it mattered right here because that train was going to go under there. So I had to make sure that was kind of my height setting area right there. So whatever that was my max height. And then when I brought this down, it just averaged out to, you know, 0, 6, you know, and works its way down. So, and then I continue that height off of this level, not the level that drops down, but this level to be this deck height. And this right now is just a piece of 4 foot by 5 foot plywood. So just waiting until I get more of it done. So then I just supported those with those 6-inch standoffs. So I don't quite have 6 inches of clearance because this track's like, I think it's 3/8 off the ground. So, but everything that I have clears by well over an inch. So even if I have double stacks, I think it'll just clear. I don't have any of those yet. So to work on the helix part of it, if that's what you want to call it, I used the same size spacers as I did over there and just started, and I attached them. You know, this is the one that I cut that went down. This is my cookie cutter piece that went up. So I maintained my height all the way down, which makes this the same height here as it is there. And as this goes down, you know, this one goes down, or as this one goes down, this one goes up. And as this is going down, this is going down lower because they have the same supports holding it down. So you can see, you know, this is the bottom layer of that. And then and then I did cookie cutter pieces, which this is wide enough to, like, I'll be able to put a siding in there if I want to, just like this one. I can put a siding in just for storage if I want to. And then so I go on around. These are the same height supports. Let me pop up on there. And then I just, you know, back here I used full sheets of decking, and these are level because the incline stops about here, just like it did on top. So the incline's the same all the way down. But this board screws to that 2x4 and that 2x4 and here and there, and supports this entire deck. And then I continue to use the spacers and duplicated the deck down here. You can see, like, attached to here and here. And then here, to go back up, I temporarily, and it might work, so it may not be temporarily, but that's just a 1x3, 1x4. It's a 1x3.5 inch board. It goes all the way back to that switch and then starts coming back up. So, and you can see this board starts going down just like this board goes down. So it keeps my height and clearance the same all the way around. So if I want to, I can stack them. But, you know, my idea was once the train went down, I may not even see it. I may cover it up, and I may just monitor with like LEDs to tell me where the track is, or train is on the track. So that's my idea. Got a long way to go, but it works really well, and it takes, 5 minutes for the train to go through all of its different tracks it can go. And that's pretty good for a 5x12 train.